If you're in high school and you're trying to join the workforce, you need to watch this video.
In this video, we're going to talk about some tips when you're applying and interviewing for jobs while you're in high school. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you what you need to know about your personal finances using words you can understand without boring you to death.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the comments below. Let us know what you had for lunch today. For me, getting my first job was easy. I mean, yeah, this was 16 years ago, which sounds like a really long time.
You're
now
right,
that I
man.
say it out loud. But I mean, really, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Anyways, I walked down the street to the Jack in the Box. I asked for an application, took it home, filled it out, brought it back the next day, and I was lucky enough to be able to give it to the manager. When I gave it to the manager, he had asked me, "Hey, you got any questions?" And of course, me being me, and I was like, "Yeah, when do I start?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I have time for an interview right now." And I was like, "Oh,
Yes.
all right." So I sat there, did the interview, killed it, per the usual, and boom, Philip got his first job, first try. Woo, woo. Yeah.
As it happens, we're not all Philip. And usually people have to apply for numerous jobs before they get hired somewhere, unless you got family or friends that are in whatever job field you're trying to get into, and they can hook you up. I mean, I usually had to apply for a few jobs myself, but once I got an interview, I always got the job. I've never interviewed and not got a job. So, I mean, that's not the case for everybody either. So you got to keep trying. And more often than not, it takes a few interviews for most people before they actually get the position. But, you got to keep trying.
Yep. I mean, so you're going to want to apply for these jobs and go to these interviews and do what you need to do to get that job, right? You're going to want to be prepared, which actually brings us to our first tip is be prepared, okay? In some places or some states, if you're under the age of 18, you're going to be limited on what you can and cannot do. So it's going to be important for you to know what those limitations are so you're not wasting your time by applying for jobs that you're not even going to get.
I mean, let's be real. It's pretty much pointless to even apply for a job where you're not old enough to do all the duties or work the hours that they need you to work because you're still in high school. So I would just not even apply for those jobs.
Yep. I mean, that's why you need to do your research because you don't want to waste your time. Time is money, especially when you're looking for a job. Next tip, you're going to want to put together a resume. This is going to show employers that you're serious about getting a job, even if you haven't had any job experience to list on this resume. Next up, you're going to want to put together a resume. A resume is going to help your application stand out. I mean, even if you don't have any employment history to put down on this resume, I mean, it's going to show employers that you're serious about getting a job.
Your resume can have all kinds of stuff from like your hobbies to activities or sports or things that you do in the community like volunteering. And, it's going to give them a really good idea of who you are outside of the fact that you might not have any work experience. Now, if you do have some kind of work experience, obviously you're going to want to put that on there. And if you don't know how to make a resume, you can ask one of the career counselors at your school, maybe your parents. But more than likely, if you're watching these videos, you're probably going to find something online. And I would definitely recommend going to canva.com because they have some amazing templates that look really sharp. And I would download one of those, or I would just go on there and edit it. And then that's what I would probably go and use for a format. To be honest, if that was me, that's what I would do. I wouldn't honestly really trust my parents or a school counselor because they probably haven't applied for a job in a long time.
Yeah.
And the job market is totally different now than it was 5 or 10 years ago in what people expect out of a resume, at least the formatting.
Yeah. Pro tip, while you're applying for these jobs, if they ask you an online personality questionnaire, right, where you have to answer questions like, I agree with this or I don't agree with this, you're always supposed to answer like on the far ends of the spectrum, like I either strongly disagree or I strongly agree. If you go down the middle, sometimes their algorithms won't even pull you up in and put you into the employer's box. So,
Yeah, true story. One time, I pretty much had a shoe-in. A buddy of mine was going to hook me up with a job. It was to be an assistant manager at T-Mobile. This is way back in the day. And I answered down the middle because that's what I thought they wanted. I didn't think they wanted the extremes. And I totally bombed it and I didn't get the job.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
So, there you go. Now, you're going to want to ask your family and friends for any job leads that they might have. Just like Alex had said, I mean, sometimes your friends and family are going to have connections to help you get a job. I mean, they might know somewhere that's hiring, or the place that they work might be hiring, and they can help you get a job there because, you got that inside information for the position. So ask around and see if they have any sort of job opportunities for you.
It's actually really good advice. Most of the jobs I've ever had came from people I knew. They were like, hey man, I know this job opening. Is that something you want to do? And just having a good network of people that I know, because I like to talk to people, has helped me out tremendously throughout my life. Actually, most of the jobs outside of the military that I've had all came from networking. And moving in the military into different career positions, it's all about who I knew too. So networking is key. Now, the next one in the list is starting your job search close to home. Mm-hmm. So you're going to want to start out by looking around, seeing what jobs are hiring in your area, because you don't want to have to drive a long distance to get to work, right? Especially if you don't have a car. It's going to be harder to get, to actually get to work, especially get to work on time.
Yeah.
Not very many people have good time management skills, and that's the best part about getting a job when you're young, is it usually teaches you those specific skills that employers are looking for, like how to show up on time. You can start by looking around in your basic, area around your house, and then you can also look online. Indeed.com, that's a big one that a lot of people use, or Monster.com. But definitely try and stay local, because if you're spending a ton of time driving to work, it's going to eat away at all your free time because you're commuting to and from work, and it sucks. It sucks up your gas. And I mean, honestly, I hate sitting in my car, sitting in traffic. I feel like it's a giant waste of my life.
Next tip, you're going to want to make a list of places that you have applied. It's real good practice for you to follow up on these places that you've applied, but if you forget about where you applied because you didn't write them down, then shame on you. It's going to look real good to employers that you care about getting a position, and if you call them, it's going to help you look better.
Yeah, especially if you're applying in a lot of places and you forget where you applied. I can say that I've probably done that once or twice. But when you follow up, it shows that you're responsible and you're motivated. And there's not a lot of young people that are doing that right now because nobody's teaching them to do that. So if you do, it's going to benefit you in a number of ways. So you're going to find out if they've already hired for that position, then you don't need to follow up anymore. Or it's going to show the manager, oh, hey, look, this dude or chick is following up, and we need to set up interviews anyways. Might as well set it up while you're on the phone. At least you're going to know where your application's at and what status it has. And if they've already hired for the position, cool, move on, right? Find out the next one. But it definitely shows a lot about you and your motivation to get a job.
Yeah. And if you do call somewhere and they're like, hey, yeah, sorry, we decided to go with someone else, you could totally ask them why they didn't pick your application. And if they tell you why, which they typically would, they'd be like, oh, well, you didn't have the work experience we were looking for, or you weren't able to work the hours that we wanted, something, right? Take that feedback, apply it into your next application that you use, and use it to make yourself a little bit more marketable next time you're applying for a job. Look, your appearance matters, okay? The only time that you should ever be filling out applications with your teeth not brushed, your hair not did, and in PJs is when you're at home, online, filling out job applications, okay? When you're going out to fill out applications in person or to pick up applications in person, you need to brush your teeth, comb your hair, put on some pants, and put on a smile, okay? There's a good chance that the person giving you this application is going to remember who you are when it comes time to turn it in. So, like I said, smile, pull up your pants, and be happy, okay? Because there's also a good chance that you might have an on-the-spot interview.
So don't look all busted, right? Because first impressions matter, and if you look like you don't take care of yourself, you look like you don't have a whole lot of pride in your appearance, probably not going to get hired.
Especially if it's a customer service job. Nobody wants to look at you all grungy.
Yeah, especially stink. They ain't gonna hire you. Okay, so next up, let's talk about some interview tips. You need to be prepared. Doesn't matter how good your application is if you crash and burn in the interview. So if you're overly shy or you're awkward like this guy.
You mean, I'm not awkward. I've gotten every job I've ever applied for. So,
they might just like awkward people. I don't know.
Awesome like this guy.
Awesomely awkward? I don't know. So, anyways, what you need to do is make sure that you're prepared and you're ready, because they're going to ask you specific questions like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What's your experience? What's your background like? And if you don't know what your own strengths and weaknesses are, by the way, if you don't actually know those things, just ask the people around you, and usually they're going to be pretty honest and tell you. So ask your friends, ask your parents, ask your teachers, and be prepared because they're going to ask at least 3 of those types of questions during an interview, almost guaranteed.
Got to have an answer for them.
Yeah. And if you're caught off guard, I don't know what my weaknesses are.
any weaknesses.
I'm perfect. Yeah, it's not going to work out too well for you.
Next interview tip, research the job before the interview. I mean, if you want to really look like a rock star during an interview, research the job before you go to the interview. If you go in there answering all these questions from the employer because you know what's expected of you in that position, you're going to look amazing, and the employers are going to love you.
Okay, so before you even go and apply for these jobs, make sure it's something that you want to do. So research the company. I mean, maybe it's a job you don't even want to do, right? Yeah. But go watch a YouTube video and figure out what it is that they do. And if that company sucks, don't even apply for them. But no matter what, you want to research the company before you even go apply. Because what happens if you get caught off guard and they do an on-the-spot interview and you don't know anything about the company? I guess I probably should have looked it up first, right? So do yourself a favor, read up on the company for 10 or 15 minutes or watch a YouTube video or whatever. That way, if you do get an on-the-spot interview, you're prepared.
Next up, you're going to want to conduct mock interviews with your family or your friends. I mean, mock interviews are really important. Have you ever conducted an interview before? How do you know how it's supposed to go? I mean, how are you supposed to sit? How are you supposed to talk? What if you have to do it over the phone or virtually? I mean, there's a lot that goes into these interviews that could catch you off guard, and if you're not ready for it, you can look kind of silly when you do it.
Keeping your composure and practicing these mock interviews with your friends or your family might be hard, but make sure you take it serious and practice, because how you do in these mock interviews is probably how you're going to do in the real thing.
Yeah. I mean, not only with your composure, I mean, you got to make sure you're paying attention also to how you're setting, right? I mean, body language is a thing also. You don't want to be doing nervous twitches. You don't want to be slouched over. You don't want to be like looking around or just being nervous, right? So you need to practice these things and make sure that when it comes down to the time of you actually having to do this for real, that you're as least awkward as possible. Hard for me, might be easy for you. Hopefully it is. Brings us up to our next thing. Your appearance matters. Just like we had said before, I mean, you're going to want to pay attention to what you're wearing to these interviews, okay? You don't want to show up in your regular street clothes. You're not expected to wear a suit, but you absolutely should be wearing slacks and a button-up t-shirt. If you don't have those available to you, maybe you can try and borrow some, or maybe you can borrow some money so you can buy some. If none of those options are available to you and you're stuck wearing some jeans, I mean, make sure that you're not wearing any holey jeans. Make sure your shirt doesn't have any wrinkles in it, and make sure there's no, gangy stuff on there or anything crazy. Okay, try and keep it simple and plain, and then obviously wear your best clothes that you have to this interview, because if you're looking grungy, you're looking dirty, the chances of you getting hired are going to go down.
If you get a phone interview, your appearance isn't going to matter as much, but how you sound matters even more at that point, because what you need to be doing, you need to sound happy. So when you smile, you sound happier through the phone, and you need to stand up, make sure that you're not sitting down or slouched, and the whole time you need to sound super chippy, chipper, and happy, or a combination, which is chippy. For phone interviews, different techniques. Right now, what happens if you get like a Zoom interview, right? So all the same things are going to apply. You want to look your best. You want to make sure you're looking at the camera, you're not looking at yourself. That's a big deal. But the appearance still matters. So you want to look like you're sitting up straight, like Philip was saying, and have your clothes on. Dress clothes, that is. But you want to look professional, right? And doing it through the phone is entirely different than in real life, because you can't get the same vibe through a camera that you can if you're sitting in front of somebody. So be extra awesome through a phone, right? So just practice. If you know that you're going to have a chance to do like a Zoom interview, just practice FaceTiming somebody, asking the same type of interview questions, right? Practice matters.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what type of interview you're going to do. If it's in person, if it's virtual, or if it's on the phone, always smile and always sit up straight, okay? And then wear nice clothes, all right? 3 things. You got it.
Keep it easy. All right, next is show up 15 minutes early. The last thing you want to do is show up right on time for your interview, and that looks bad, because it looks like you're just constantly running late, or you're just barely making it, and that's not something any employer wants. They don't want you just making it in the nick of time to work, right? They want to see that you're going to take an interview seriously, right? Who wants an employee that's always running late or just barely makes it? So be responsible, get there early.
Yeah, like, why is somebody going to hire you to pay you money to show up if you can't show up to get that job that's going to pay you money on time? Okay, so just show up early, all right? It's not that hard. Plan accordingly. If for whatever reason you are going to show up late to your interview, make sure you call, and call like well in advance. I mean, if you know you're going to be late, you're going to know 5 minutes before you're late, all right? So just call them and be like, hey, something happened, and at least inform them. Don't just be like ashamed and embarrassed and not call and not show up, because that's just bad practice. Don't do it.
Then you're just wasting somebody's time. They're going to appreciate if you try to communicate with them, and they might reschedule the interview or delay it or whatever, wait for you. But communication is everything, especially with an employer.
Yep. Last but not least, you're going to want to prepare for rejection. I mean, you're not going to get every job you apply for. And if you like curl up into a ball and start crying because you didn't get a position, I mean, that's not going to help you. So stick with the job hunt, keep applying for jobs, keep practicing those interviews. And then if you don't get picked for a job for whatever reason and the employer is nice enough to tell you why, use that information that they give you on why they didn't go with you and apply it for your next job application or interview.
All right, that's it. That's all of our tips for applying and interviewing for jobs.
If you guys want to check out more videos like this, we have some videos that are going to be linked in the description below. Also, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know which one of these jobs tips you found most useful.
Make sure you share this with your friends too, because they might need it.
Oh yeah.